Now it's time for the best movie of the century. We're shooting Assassin's Creed. I see. Ugh. The Knights Templar, a group infamous for its evil goals, is introduced historically at the start of the film. They had been looking for the Apple of Eden nonstop. Grant was told by a weird object that its owner had authority over it, the human capacity for free thought. They have been attempting to acquire this potent artifact for centuries. The Brotherhood of Assassins is the only group blocking their path, though. A covert, venerable group with a mission to thwart the Templars and defend humanity from the potentially catastrophic impact of Apple. The story then jumps to Spain in 1492 where Aguilar, a trained assassin, is first introduced. Following his initiation into the fraternity, he accepts the serious responsibility of battling the Templar, swearing to stop them at all costs from obtaining the apple. Aguilar receives special gauntlets from his fellow assassin Maria, as well as the traditional ceremony of having his ring finger amputated as part of his initiation. He recites during this process, the assassins guiding Creed in their acts. To serve the light, we toil in the shadows. We are murderous. The action then jumps to the 20th century, where we first meet Callum Lynch, a young man with problems. His attempt to ride his bicycle across roofs is unsuccessful since it was a bad plan, and he falls as a result. When he returns home, he discovers a horrific incident involving his Templar mother and assassin father. He sees his father brandishing a knife, and his mother dead on a chair, demonstrating that he murdered her. The house was suddenly approached by a gang of Templars, and Callum's father tells him he has no alternative but to flee. The terrified child flees through the roofs, abandoning his former life and, happily, his bicycle. In the current day, an adult Callum finds himself imprisoned and sentenced to death for a crime he purportedly committed. It's his birthday, and he's supposed to get the death penalty. On the same day, jail guards take him to a torture room, where they bind him to a bed and inject him with mercury fluid. Callum spends the last few minutes remembering all the wonderful times he had with his mother and cursing his father for causing them so much trouble. Surprisingly, Callum then opens his eyes at a secret institution where he meets Dr. Sophia Reich. She informs him that he is already dead in the eyes of the rest of the world. Then Dr. Sophia reveals that he has a distinct ancestry and that he must assist her in her investigation. Callum, who is still perplexed as to what is going on, gets up and attempts to flee. When he crawls to the facility's edge, he realizes he's in the outside world and it's impossible for him to flee. Dr. Sophia informs him that he is working inside the Abstergo Foundation to establish a firm dedicated to global peace. Just then, a guard sedates Callum, knocking him out. He is then led to an experiment room, where Sophia introduces him to. Animus is a fascinating machine that examines human DNA and allows individuals to relive their ancestors' memories. Despite his denial, Callum is linked to the machine and sees Aguilar, who lived over 5 centuries ago. As Callum digs deeper into the hypnotic feeling of being in Aguilar's shoes, he finds himself standing on a precipice with other trained assassins, all focused on a critical mission to rescue Prince Ahmed, Sultan Mohammed's son. The Templars have kidnapped the young prince and are hiding him in a barn. A brave peasant walks forward amid the stress, admitting that he had been sheltering the prince. However, this proves to be a costly error, as Ojada, a brutal Templar commander, orders the villagers' whole execution. Family. The Templars then declare that the entire community would suffer consequences for their suspected collaboration with the assassins. Meanwhile, Aguilar and his other assassins approach discreetly towards the Templars in a rapid and precise strike to save Prince Ahmed. While the other assassins skill, Aguilar pounces on the Templar commander, protect the princes by completely neutralizing the guards. Ojada, on the other hand, proved to be a formidable foe, fighting back after murdering an assassin. He pursues Maria, who is attempting to lead the princes to safety. Following this, a long chase starts, with Aguilar urgently trying to catch up with Ojada on horseback, making daring leaps and maneuvers to demonstrate his exceptional powers. He eventually makes it onto the same carriage as Ojada, who is engaged in a fierce battle for the prince's safety. In the present, Sophia abruptly breaks Callum's connection to the Animus, yanking him back into reality. As a result, Callum suffers from the bleeding effect, in which his ancestors' memories suddenly merge with his present self, creating disorientation and headaches. He even begins to view Aguilar's visions without being linked to the Animus. Sophia and her father Rickon discuss their progress in locating the Apple of Eden in the following scenario. They are, in fact, Templars who believe Callum, a descendant of Aguilar, possesses the secret to its whereabouts. Sophia is driven by her ambition to secure her position in Templar history, whereas Rick is driven by his desire to gain the apple in order to further the Templars' goals of governing humanity. Meanwhile, as Callum awakens from the Animus, he continues to have images of Aguilar and his old life. Sophia explains the function of the animus and encourages Callum to completely participate in order to uncover more valuable knowledge and memories from his genetic lineage. She calms Callum down before taking him to the other room and informs him that he has been monitored since birth. Sophia also reveals Aguilar's tragic past, stating that his parents were murdered by Ojada, prompting him to seek vengeance and eventually joining the assassins. The importance of the apple and its link to Aguilar's prior existence is revealed. The scene then turns to the facility's dining hall, where Callum becomes the target of curiosity and observation by other patients who are also part of the Templar experiments. Right then Moa, a descendant of a Haitian assassin, reaches out to Callum, warning him to make the correct decisions and to stay true to himself. He covertly advises Callum not to work with the Templars. However, tensions build when Rick confronts Sophia over Callum's progress. He demands immediate results and threatens to replace her if she refuses. When Callum is alone in his chamber, Sophia remains resolute in her mission to uncover the mysteries hidden within his genetic memory. He sees the disturbing picture of Aguilar once more. The visions awaken something within Callum, and he finds himself in the shadows. He was at odds with his ancestor. When the attendants rush in to bind him and take him to Animus, Callum realizes that he possesses the agility and combat skills of Aguirre. He demonstrates his newfound prowess and attempts to repel them. He fails to accomplish so, though, and is dragged to the adversaries. He relives more of Aguilar's memories after being hooked to the mysterious gadget. This time, Callum is locked in a dungeon with Maria and their commander, Benedict. Ojada has planned a terrible execution for them. Detention worsens as Ojada sets Benedicto on fire directly in front of their eyes. But Aguirre will not die so quickly in a bold display of skill. He frees himself and Maria from their shackles and causes havoc on their captors. They were able to flee the Templars together, resulting in a magnificent explosion. During this time, the Templars pursue them, with Ojada and his soldiers giving their all, as well as rooftop chases and fierce battles. Callum gets a taste of Aguilar's adrenaline-pumping adventures. Despite Ojada's tenacity, Aguilar's resourcefulness and agility allow him to consistently outmaneuver the Templars. Back at the institution, however, the intensity of the memories takes its toll on Callum, and he has a seizure, disconnecting him from the Animus, who is concerned for his well-being. When Calamari regains consciousness, Sophia calms him down and tends to him. Sophia, his mother's necklace, reminds him of their critical quest for world peace. A timely reminder. In the following scene, Rickon approaches Callum personally, offering him a proposition in exchange for Callum's assistance in locating the Apple of Eden for the Templars. In exchange, they promise him something. Rickon then leads Callum into a room full of presumably lifeless people. He shows Callum his father's blade, which he used to murder his mother, and confesses that he, too, is imprisoned at the same institution. When Rickon leave the room, Callum takes up the sword and sees a vision of his father. Back in his office, he had a woman in front of him. Sophia confronts Rickon and chastises him for pushing Callum too hard. Rickon, on the other hand, feels that by exploiting Callum's animosity for his father, he will gladly enter Thews. After years of resentment and bitterness, Callum finally confronts his father, Joseph. In the Creed, the latter reveals that his mother chose death over being used by his adversary, and that she sacrificed herself to defend him. Callum is then warned by Joseph, falling into the Templar's trap as the apple could lead to disaster. Despite his rage, Callum swears to find the apple and put an end to the Creed as a result of what his father has done. He then happily hands over his mother's necklace as a symbol of his determination and goes to connect with the opponent. As Callum is being led back to his room, one of the assassin descendants attacks him, but he manages to defend himself until the guards arrive. Following this, Callum eagerly returns to the Animus, plunging himself back into Aguilar's memories. This time, Aguilar and Maria discover the apple in the possession of the Sultan, who intends to swap it for the release of his son. When Thomas, the Templar Grand Master, unlocks the box containing the apple, Aguilar and Maria attack the troops, causing chaos. Aguilar successfully holds Thomas at knife point. On the other side, Ojada does the same thing to Maria. This leads to a dramatic standoff between the two parties, but Maria ultimately sacrifices herself to safeguard the faith. He was furious at the loss of his good friend. Aguilar attacks Ojada viciously, and eventually kills him with Maria's concealed blade. He then flees the scene, carrying the Apple of Eden. Aguilar battles his way out of the tunnel, but he is surrounded by troops who are determined to protect the fruit. He leaps across a bridge and into the river, swimming away to safety and returning to the present. The Animus is slowly disintegrating, but Callum is uninjured and still attached to Aguirre. The scientists surrounding him watch with bated breath as Aguilar meets with Christopher Columbus and hands over the apple, making him pledge to keep it safe and secret until his death. Sophie immediately instructs her men to dig Columbus' grave following this information, and locate the Apple of Eden as the other assassins detect a shift in the facility. They fight intense skirmishes with the guards in order to get Callum and kill him. Meanwhile, Callum is trapped in a mental realm populated by Aguirre and other Creed assassins. He sees his mother disguised as an assassin, which leads him to the fruit. Rick instructs his men to purge the facility and prepares to flee the other in a desperate maneuver. The assassins successfully take control of the facility, eliminating the guards and advancing to the Animus. Joseph fights valiantly as well, but is eventually killed. When the assassins arrive at the Animus, they are surprised to see Callum conversing to his dead mother. She underscores the significance of the Credo and urges him to put an end to the evil. With this, Callum fully accepts his position as an assassin and leads the others in a counterattack against the Templar soldiers swarming the room. He rushes to the rooftop, hoping to prevent Rick's escape. Unfortunately, Rickon has already taken off. Conduct a discreet unveiling of the Apple of Eden in a helicopter near to the Templars. When Sophia learns of her father's wicked plans, she refuses to be with him and even tries to prevent him from revealing them. However, Rick ignores her and presents the apple at the gathering. Callum and the assassins have already infiltrated the building and are preparing to strike. Callum takes a daring move as Rick reveals the glowing apple to an applauding audience and ruthlessly murders him. He then vanishes into the crowd, carrying the apple. Sophia sees her father's lifeless body in the final moment and proclaims that she will take over his company. The film concludes with Callum standing on a rooftop overlooking the city with two other assassins, carrying the potent Apple of Eden. However, the fate of the relic and the future of the religion remain undetermined, and will do so indefinitely because this film performed poorly. Subscribe to see more videos like